Hey, good job stealing this from the neighbor. We're up. Hey, folks, guess what? I took a shower. And what's prompted me to take a shower is the fact that we're doing this show called Isolation Nation. And we are here for, I guess a whole bunch of reasons. But the biggest reason why we're here is to make you feel like, even though you may be isolated, you may look around and not see anyone, but we don't want you to feel alone. My name is Michael Landsberg, and about 10 years ago, I was doing a TV show and I interviewed a hockey player. And for the first time, I mentioned that I suffered from this thing called depression and anxiety. And I never talked about it before on TV because I thought, who would care? Well, the next day after saying that, my life changed because I heard from 22 people, 20 of them were men, and they said it was the first time they've heard two men speaking about mental illness. And the biggest thing about it was, and this is why I'm talking to you today, is because I can say this. My name is Michael Landsberg. I suffer from an illness called depression and anxiety. It's taken me down at times. It left me in a hotel room in Montreal understanding why people take their own lives. But here's the deal. I am not ashamed. I am not embarrassed. And I sure as heck am not weak. That's why we say sick, not weak. And that's why we're here today, because with this pandemic has come a massive pandemic of anxiety and depression. I've heard from more people in the last couple of days who say, oh my God, I never knew what it was like to experience that. Oh my God, I can't believe how I'm so sad, I'm so down, and I'm so nervous. So we're speaking to a ton of different people who've had a ton of different experiences, but all of us share this one thing in common, which is we need to understand better how we get through these really tough times, obviously. You're here in my house. My dog is here, so if my dog starts barking, I hope you'll understand. He is super cute, Wrigley, and I'll tell you what, if you're struggling with mental health issues, getting a dog, especially at this time, is awesome. All right, let's meet our guest for today. And we're going to be here every day, and you need to spread the word about it. This woman is a dear friend of mine. I met her for the first time on Off the Record a long time ago, and everyone, when they saw her, said, oh my God, that woman is awesome. Sports Center anchor Jennifer Hedger. Hey, Hedge, how you doing?
I'm on Isolation Nation. We are a nation in isolation.
You know what, Hedge?
I've been working on a theme song for your show. What do you think?
I love that, but stay away from the libation. How you doing, Hedge?
I'm, you know what? I'm doing okay. But normally I would say fine. And you know that if I say fine, it doesn't really mean fine, right? So this is the deal. I've been doing good for the last couple of weeks. I had my routine. I'm making sure my kid gets homeschooled. We're having meals on time. I'm exercising. But I've noticed in the last week that I am slipping. It's getting harder to stick to the routine. My enthusiasm for getting things done is waning. I don't want to go for a run anymore. The things that I used to find pleasure in, I don't find pleasure in, and they're all very familiar feelings for me. And I'm I shouldn't say I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a lot nervous that in 1 week or 2 weeks from now, my depression is going to sort of cast this pall over my life as I feel like it has started to do. And I'm going to be really sick. I'm going to be not able to get out of bed and not able to help my family. And it's a very lonely feeling because my family needs me. Like, we need to get through this. I can't just be mom who's got a mental illness and can't function for the next couple months. So I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling a bit trapped. I'm feeling like there's this tidal wave that's about to come over me. And even though I know it's coming, I'm not going to be able to stop it. And it sucks.
Well, Hedge, here's the deal. First of all, I'm not apologizing. Sure, I have women's glasses on, but the fact is that, and that's my phone ringing. So like I said, we're in my house. I know it's not for me because for real, I have not received a phone call in 4 years. So it's definitely not for me.
Listen, someone's called you to ask you if you need to get your ducts cleaned. Don't tell me they haven't.
Oh my God, and knocking on that. Flyers. Who puts out flyers at this time? I don't want to touch the same paper that you touched, and I don't want ever to get flyers in my door. Who puts up flyers
I
now? But we've got you consultation because with us, and this is something we'll try to do every day, and we'll be doing this every day until we get the green light that we can go back to our lives. Dr. Katy Kamkar is a clinical psychologist and a person that when I have gone out to give speeches, I have seen her a number of times speaking and relating to people. And I thought for our first show, get Katy. How are you?
I'm doing well, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. Listen, I just hope that, like Jennifer, I have this pop-up singing and dancing prepared, but she's definitely the expert at it. So I love it. And, thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing your story with us. And Michael, thank you for having me. It is such a delight to be here because, as you both mentioned, such an important topic. I mean, we do know COVID has to do with our physical health, but we also know we are able to pull it through with our mental health. And very much so, as you mentioned, Jennifer, and also you, Michael, this is inherently difficult for everyone. Globally, really, it's almost safe to say globally is so difficult for everyone. But of course, if we already struggle with, let's say, depression or there is anxiety and so on, this drastic change in our life is certainly not helpful, and definitely it can worsen the symptoms.
You know, I think one of the things that's really important is for me to ask not just Jennifer, but you as well. How are you doing? Because, you know, doctors can have anxiety and depression and OCD and other issues like the rest of us. And you're all, you know, experiencing the same thing, which is this isolation because of COVID-19. So, Katy, how are you doing?
So I mean, I think that whatever I'm going to share right now in terms of what are some of the key strategies and tools that can help us. I myself, of course, use them as well. I think that all of us, this is something that, as we say, as you have said, we all in this together. And I think that this show here is so helpful because once again, there is a chance that right now we can virtually talk about it. We are all home. It's part of setting meaningful activities, having conversation, right? And we all in this together. We have all experienced and witnessed here right now that suddenly and drastically we have seen and witnessed a sudden change in our daily life, in our daily responsibilities, in our daily routine, like everything all together. Work, home life, child responsibilities, support for elder care, in addition to a list of range of very legitimate worries. We're talking about concern about, am I going to have enough supply, concern about infection, concern about not only myself, but then also loved ones, finances, the impact on our work. So range of worries that can trigger a range of emotions, the sadness, the anger, anxiety, and fear. But I also, how I see COVID is really around, I see it also as a grief, and it ranges from a continuum from, let's say, the loss of, people say, I miss my daily activities, going out for my coffee, grabbing my newspaper, hugging someone, my work office, to, let's say, to the other extreme, which, of course, all the losses and death and so on. I think that what's very important really at this stage is normalizing all the reactions. We need to normalize the symptoms. And one thing here is Jennifer, what you mentioned, this feeling that I feel trapped, I'm not able to do what I was able to do before. You certainly are able to recognize the warning signs that you're going through. Kudos to you for that. And then you mentioned feeling guilty, and Michael clocked that and said, no, hold on here. Almost like, do not judge yourself. There is no reason to feel guilty, but at the same time, what can we do to take care of all those things, right? So these are, as a first umbrella here, these are the very things that I want us to keep in mind before we talk before I talk any further in terms of strategies and everything.
So, yeah, Hedge, you can jump in and ask the doc a question. Let me say a few things. Number one, it seems like we've been working technically. Phil Kluba, who's kind of a genius with this stuff, has built this whole show basically from scratch, and the platforms and the graphics and the sound and all of that. So I think there's a delay on your voice, Katy, which is something that eventually will take care of it all. But the point is, we're going to be here every day. This is day what? Day 14 for me of wearing pants with no button. That's how I'm measuring this. When I can wear pants with a button or I have to, that means that we're back to being the world that we used to be back. But we'll be here every single day at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, Hedge, for the doc, and also if you'd like to ask questions, I have a handful here from Katy. If you'd like to ask, just fire away on Facebook or on Twitter. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask the doc about what my friend Joy Dorsey, who also deals with depression and addiction and sobriety, and it's what you call the fuck-its. So the fuck-its are like, you know what? I'm going to take my daily meds today. Fuck it. What's the point? I feel like crap. And what are we all doing anyways, right? Or should I have a glass of wine or should I finish the bottle? Fuck it. I'll just finish the bottle. That sort of sense of like, what does it matter? You know, why are we working so hard to try and get our kids educated and doing this homeschooling? And why am I still out, you know, trying to watch what I eat? Why don't I just eat a bag of potato chips? Like, seriously, fuck it. It's too hard. And mentally, we're just too exhausted to do all these things, all these little checklists that we know in our minds we're supposed to do, but it's just too damn hard. And what's it all for anyways? Do you have any advice for someone with a serious case of the fuck-its? Because you don't have to suffer from mental illness to have that right now.
Okay, thank you for that. So in terms of, you know, what to do with this fuck-it list, I think that with this fuck-it list here, I would aim it first in terms of our emotions, the range of emotions that I was mentioning. When we feel hopelessness is a main feature of depression. And feeling helplessness is a main feature of anxiety. So we feel hopeless when I feel that, you know what, it doesn't matter whatever I do, things will not change anyway. So it's losing hope, feeling hopeless. And we know it's like such a strong feature of depression. When we feel helpless, is really, I feel powerless. I feel I don't have control. And of course, it becomes a key marker of anxiety. And I think that that list that you mentioned, and thank you for that, because it's a great list. And sure, absolutely, we can definitely title it the fuck-it list. But it's actually, these are very strong examples of feelings of hopelessness and feelings of helplessness. And what I would say is that there are, of course, variety of key strategies here to work on. But I think that if we can maybe start with two things. What are some of the behavioral strategies? What are actions that can help to reduce those very intense, distressing emotions? Right? Because that list here is painful. It causes pain from the inside. Like, it causes a lot of suffering and a lot of distress. And then what are some of the thoughts here that do not help me, that help me keep backwards as opposed to helping me moving forward? So here, I think that one of the examples that you mentioned that I found very helpful is that, you know, your friend said, I feel overwhelmed. That's too much. Absolutely. Whenever the distress is very high, anything becomes overwhelming. Anything, even taking shower is overwhelming. Making the bed is overwhelming. Forget even about 1 hour walk a day. What I would say is set 3 activities a day. Make it as small as it could be possible, right? Make 3 small activities a day. And when you do them, you put a check mark. It's called a success. Now, here's what's important. Do not judge a success by how I felt about it or what I thought about it. Is did you do it or not? And it's a check mark. But it's very important every day to set up maybe 3 key activities that I'm going to do either today or tomorrow, but essentially 3 key activities for the day. And the activities start with my level, and everyone's level is very different. So there are some people who they don't have problems with shower every day. They have problems making a meal a day, or they have problems with maybe they do not do enough exercise. Others, it's like, no, it's difficult getting out of the bed and even taking shower. So we all have our own baseline. It's very important not to judge ourselves, because that leads to self-stigma, is when we judge ourselves. Oh, look at them, I'm such a loser. I'm so weak. I cannot even take shower. Let's not judge ourselves. Self-kindness, when we suffer, is the #1 and most important thing here. So I would say 3 activities, however our baseline is, and you put a check mark. Then after that, the motivation gets better. We have a tendency to feel that I need to be motivated to do something. Actually, no, we know through research that we need to do something. Motivation gets better, self-confidence gets better, and then we are able to do more. And after that, then of course, entertaining what are some of the very distressing thoughts and being able to reframe them in a way that helps me to move forward.
So Katy, can I stop you there for a second? Are you telling me that going on Instagram and filing through and looking at all the people who have done like 7,000 miles on their Peloton bike this week and looking at everyone's perfect lives isn't the best thing for me right now?
So here's the thing, and I know that, and thank you for that question, right? And so here's the thing. When it comes to social media and what I'm going to see and so on, so that's exactly it. Whenever we know the negative emotions are very strong, it creates like this tunnel vision in our thinking, attention, and memory, and so on. We're gonna zoom in to all those and interpret everything as that, the life is greener somewhere else. Look at that, I'm not able to do this. So then I myself put myself down, right? So yeah, we definitely, I myself would not even look at, this person did the 10 marathon and so on. And thank you for that joke. So we do not look at the whole picture, the whole image, and also to look at, these are some of the things that are not helping me versus I'm going to try to look at what are the things that are helping me. But ultimately, always going back into those, how am I interpreting this situation, right? What does that mean to me? Because again, we are more vulnerable at putting once again ourselves down. I would say use social media to your advantage.
So yeah, I thought you were finished. Hey guys, we got to book some men on the show so I get a chance to talk. Oh my God, the two of them together. It's like, hello. Let's race through some questions that we have received, and you can both weigh in, but try to keep the answers really short so we can get to as many as possible. And you got to spread the word on this show. We're here every day. It's called Isolation Nation, and we want to be heard because we got a voice. This is from Molly Keller. Upon awakening, I experience extreme depression. As soon as I awake, it takes a long time to subside. Any advice on how to deal with this? Katy?
So I'm gonna keep it very short. My promise. I'm gonna 5-minute rule. Okay. Someone else even told me 2-minute rule, which is essentially I'm gonna do something 5 minutes. If it doesn't work, I can give up. But if it works great, then I can continue. So just say you said 5 minutes. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna maybe wash my face with cold water. Have water, stretching, activity, and promise yourself the 5-minute rule.
Okay, let's go to Joanne. Joanne asked this question. Need some coping mechanism. Meds don't seem to be working right now. And my brain is like a Rolodex and won't stop spinning. We were hearing the same sort of thing from Hedge.
Yeah, well, let me answer before the actual professional gives you the proper answer. I'll tell you what works for me. And I do take meds, so meds do work for me. And I'm sad to hear that they don't work for you. I find exercise, even though it's hard to get your butt out there, exercise to get the endorphins going. And even if you can't exercise, try and get outside and just go for a walk. Michael was talking about his dog. I just recently got a dog. I've never had a dog.
Hey, where'd you get the dog, Hedge?
Things for me.
Where'd you get the dog?
Same place that you got yours. Doodle Creek, home of Wrigley, is now home of Sydney too. But in all seriousness, getting outside, just feeling the fresh air, it does lift my mood. I don't know what the mechanics are there, but it helps. And the whole like racing mind thing, I have that as well. I find podcasts help. Find a podcast you love, whatever. Like I listen to murders before I go to bed, which probably leads to another issue I have with nightmares. But find a voice that you find very soothing, and it helps me fall asleep. And if I wake up in the middle of the night with racing mind, I put the earbuds back in and I listen to the podcast and I fall asleep like that.
Okay, Dr. Katy Kamkar joining us. She is a clinical psychologist. Okay, the first one I'm going to read is a point, and the second one is a question that relates to it. Tristan Rand-Lewis says, it's really difficult with no end in sight. And Derek Burns asks, how does one lessen the impact of an indefinite timeline? So those two relate together because we got no idea when this is going to end.
Yeah, that's very true. And of course, that creates more anxiety and worry because simply of the uncertainty. And as human beings, it's the uncertainty that drives even more the anxiety. Indefinite time doesn't mean that it's going to last forever. So if we reframe it as indefinite time also means that, look, we cannot give it you a finite date, an exact date, which we do know this is the reality, of course. So the not being able to provide a certain specific deadline, which is what we all love as human beings, it's going to drag longer, but it's not going to be forever. So just reframing that is most helpful. Setting, again, routine and structure. I love what Jennifer said. I'll echo what Jennifer said, except maybe very gently, I might not necessarily recommend, what is it that she said, watching the murder before bedtime or something like this.
Podcast, Dateline podcasts. Yeah, I like to listen to Solved Murder.
The murder thing before going to bed. Exactly. Okay, so maybe that could lead to other issues. I agree with that. But aside from that, take a holistic approach to care. Mental health, same as physical health, is health. It's head to toe. Exercise has a direct impact on our mental health. Eating healthy has a direct impact on our mental health. So it's a very holistic approach that we need to take. Essentially, also right now with new structure and routine, meaningful activities that can help you cope every day, including reaching out. And yes, that time, that finish point, the light at the end of the tunnel will come. And you will experience the self-learning, the sense of growth and resiliency that you're going to have with all of us.
Thing to do.
There we go.
I'm sorry. I guess I unplugged the microphone by accident. Way to go, Michael.
Can you please shorten down your question this time around?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blame it on my mental illness. Oh my God, just
so typical.
Just really struggling here. Hedge.
Yes.
How useful do you find that advice? Because it's basic stuff.
Yeah.
And it's. Go ahead.
You know what I find most useful, honestly, and Dr. Katy is great with her expert knowledge. I find it so useful just talking about it, just actually getting it off my chest, and going and hearing from other people that they feel the same way. Because when we were just talking about the whole no finish line, I think that's so hard for most people, is that we don't know when it's going to be over. And my anxiety isn't about getting COVID. I'm not afraid of getting the disease. I'm afraid of what we're going to look like on the other side of this. And I'm afraid that things are never going to go back to the way that they were. Because every morning I read the paper and they're like, it's not going to be the same. And it would be one thing for someone to tell me, you know what, you're going to have this period of uncertainty, but at some point we're going to go back to the way it was. And the idea that we're not going back to the way it was, you mean, now I got to get used to something new? That change and uncertainty I find really stressful.
I think what you just said really sums it up for a lot of us. It's not like, especially for those of us that have been really in isolation or social distancing now for an extended period of time. And when you don't come in contact with another human being, the chances are you're not going to get COVID-19. Wouldn't it be ironic if I turned up tomorrow and I'm shaking from a fever?
And you've got a fever?
Yeah. Exactly. So, but I think what's really important, Katy, is the fact that many of us are not worried about the illness. We're worried about the world around us. We're worried about what's going to be left when the illness leaves.
Yeah. So So right now, what I would say is because we have a range of worries to worry about, what's very helpful is to create a list between current worries and the potential worries. Current worries are essentially the worries that right now do exist that I have control over and I can do something about. The potential worries are a little bit later. They might happen, might not happen. But right now, we do need to focus on what do I have control over and to take care of my current problems, my current activities, structure, routine, my current worries, because it's going to demand a lot of time and energy and of our health to take care of our current worries. So it's really around the current worries right now, and then leaving it for the potential worries for after that. But even for the whatever after that, once again, putting it into reframing it in a way that it doesn't mean I will not be able to cope. It doesn't mean I will not find meaning into it. It doesn't mean that there are not going to be things I will not enjoy it. So we have a tendency at times to even
Hedger,
things change.
Hedge, somebody wants to know, would it be easier for you if you were doing Sports Center, and how challenging is it to do a TV show when you're really struggling, as you said you are right now?
It would be easier if I went into work every night and hosted Sports Center. Absolutely, because that is like a constant in my life. It's something that gives me purpose. It's something that I enjoy. And when I am really struggling with my depression, it is a very challenging thing to pull off. Because when I am going through a bad bout, I have trouble thinking. I have trouble, like, usually it takes me maybe 5 minutes to write an on-cam or 10 minutes if I'm actually going to do some research. Joke! I always do research. But it would take me only a few minutes to do it. When I am really struggling with my depression, it can take me half an hour to write a 20-second on-cam. And the mental acuity isn't there for me when I'm depressed. And one person saying one thing the wrong way, one person joking about my blazer that night can totally send me into tears, when normally I'd be like, whatever. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But if you suffer from mental illness, you know about the mask. You know the mask we all wear, where we all smile at people, and nobody thinks that anything's wrong because we're so used to putting on that brave face. And it's easy for me to put on the mask and do Sports Center because it's a coping mechanism I've had for years. But to answer your question, it would be easier for me going into work every night. And now we're trying to figure out what Sports Center is going to look like maybe in a month's time, if we're all sort of broadcasting from these mini studios in our homes. And as much as I'm looking forward to getting back to work and having some sort of purpose to my day, it is another level of anxiety, wondering what the heck that is going to look like, because it's not going to be driving up to the studio as it has been for the last 17 years and sitting beside Darren Detition. Which could be which is its own hell, as well. So we all have our own burdens.
Dr. Katy, final question for you. And we only have a little time left, although I guess we are our own clock. So on social media, you could bust me for saying we only have a little time left. But if you had one piece of advice, not for Hedge, not for me, because we're long time sufferers. So this is not new for us, although it may be magnified for us. But for the person that has never experienced anxiety before, give us one thing that person can take away from this conversation.
I would say that you have more resiliency and the strength in you than you think and you know about. It will be a time for the self-discovery. Don't be afraid of the range of emotions and thoughts. Normalize them. And of course, focus on what you have control over. And they will lead to a sense of self-growth and self-learning and to your resilience, which is, as we know, an ongoing process. And make sure you're not alone and you reach out.
Thank you so much for doing this, our debut show. And I think as we've gone on, technically, it's gotten a little clearer. There's a million challenges, but we got some great stuff from you, Katy. And we just thank you very much for stepping up and helping us with this. And we'll give you, say, 10 days. And if this pandemic is not cured by then, we'll ask you back. Cool?
It is super cool. Thank you from the heart for having me, Michael. Jennifer, it's lovely talking to you. Thank you.
That's Dr. Katy Kamkar, who has finally discovered how you're supposed to say Hedger's name. It's Jennifer, and who knew?
Did you notice that she didn't thank you for any of your questions or comments, Michael? And she thanked me for a lot of my questions and comments.
I did, and I would say that Jennifer is way more exotic than Jennifer or Jen.
You're right. I'm going with that. I'm going with Jennifer Hedger on the next Sports Center, whenever that might be.
Yeah, whenever that is. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of questions that I want to ask you. You only get to give one answer or one word or one line. And the first thing I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to show you what we have here, is in our COVID-19 survival kit. What are the things you need? Well, obviously, you need toilet paper. Obviously, we have put Lysol wipes in there. Obviously, you have to have Purell. So now it starts to be optional. So you can put stuff that you need in there. What happened to the yeast? Where's the yeast?
Yeast?
There's no yeast on the shelves. Casey wanted to bake, and there's nothing out there. There's no yeast on the shelves.
Unbelievable. Thanks, I don't know as though I've ever bought yeast.
So this is going into the survival kit. Okay. Nice. So I got to put something in the survival kit, and I'm putting Cheetos in, because if there's no Cheetos, there's no life. And Casey has put in her boxing gloves, because in isolation she has ordered a heavy bag to be able to punch, because you got to stay in shape. And if you got that great left hook as she does, you don't want to lose it over the course of the pandemic. So, Hedge, here we go. Yeah. What are you putting into the survival kit?
I'm adding to the survival kit the deepest relief hand lotion money can buy. I'm not a hand lotion person, but I tell you what, since washing these bad boys about 27 times a day, they are dry and cracked.
Hey, Karen, grab some hand lotion. That's what Hedge wants to put in. Okay.
Yeah.
What can't you do without?
What can I do without?
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to do without my running shoes. Just like the boxing gloves? Yeah, running shoes.
What are you watching?
Curb Your Enthusiasm and Mrs. Fletcher.
What are you eating too much of?
Cheese, all sorts of cheese. Brie, the stinkier the better. I can't get enough of it right now.
How are you getting your exercise? You mentioned jogging, right?
Yeah, running and walking with my pooch.
And I noticed you corrected me when I said jogging. You said running. Was that intentional?
No, it wasn't intentional, but probably jogging is closer to what I do, so I shouldn't have corrected you.
Give us a tip on breaking the boredom.
Baking. I feel like when all else fails, start baking.
Quarantine hygiene. Hair washing. On average, how many times a week?
I'm fine with the hygiene. Once a day. I run every day. I jog every day.
No, it was hair washing. Do you wash your hair every day?
I know, but I do, because I sweat when I jog.
Okay, so fair enough.
Yeah.
Name something you miss.
Everything. But I wrote something down here. What do I miss? Oh, I miss the Raptors. Their game was on last night. I miss the Raptors so much.
Yeah, me too. What celebrity, if you, outside of your husband and your son, would you choose to be quarantined with, if you could choose?
Chelsea Handler.
Chelsea Handler is a terrible choice.
Really?
But yeah,
I mean, I think she looks like she would be fun to hang out with for 2 months.
You know, I used to watch her show, and I used to think, I don't get it. I thought there was a lot.
See, I never watched her show. I just follow her on Instagram.
Serge Ibaka would be a great choice. Oh my God.
He'd be a good choice.
He might be the most charming man on the planet. Has your opinion of any political leader changed since the pandemic began?
Oh, good question. Not really. I always have thought poorly of our prime minister, and I've always thought highly of our premier, and I'm glad to see. Yes, I'm not him as a person, but as the job he's doing, and I'm glad to see that. I think he's been a really good leader in the last 3 weeks, and I think people are finally noticing that he is getting the job done.
Oh my God!
And I know.
And finally,
shouldn't have gotten into politics.
What's your quarantine look?
Buffalo plaid chic, obviously with a pair of tights that I've had on for the last 4 days and a clean shirt.
And Freddie McBride wants to know, will you cut your own hair? Because we all sort of face that dilemma, right?
Right. No, I won't. And I got the luck of the draw. I went in and got my hair done like the Friday before it all got shut down. So these roots, baby, we good. We're good for a while. We're good.
You got pretty urban there all of a sudden. We good, baby.
We good. Yeah.
Thanks, dog. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Michael. My pleasure, man. Stay well, okay?
Yeah, we'll talk. I mean, I hope to talk to you before then, but
can we still be
like
friends,
said,
even though we talked politics a little bit there? I feel like we might not be able to.
Yeah,
be
you know
friends
what?
anymore.
Politics now in this day and age are the kind of thing that you can't do. But I have some hydrating lotion for you, which we will send.
All right.
Yes, of Isolation Nation, get moisturizing lotion. When you wash your hands 1,000 times a day, you need some moisturizing. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.
That's Jennifer Hedger McCormick, who has been an awesome, she started talking about mental health for the first time, and I had no idea that she was going to do this. SickNotWeak was doing an event in Peterborough. And I asked her, and Theo Fleury was there. There was a whole, I guess 4 or 5 of us that were speaking. And Jennifer got up on the stage and started talking about how depression had really affected her life. And it was the first time she ever said it in public. And honestly, you hear this? Nothing. That's what you heard in the room. People were breathless, and she's an amazing advocate for it. So let me tell you some things. You need to share what we do. We don't want to do this for just a handful of people. We need to thank Jansen. Jansen gave us some money and said, do whatever you want with it. And this is what we chose to do. Isolation Nation inspiration I have for you. If you want to feel less alone, remember this: it's not the number of people around you, it's the number of people who understand you. And my shirt says, change is hope. I was going to say I'll wear a different t-shirt or shirt every day with a different slogan, but since the fact is you can't see it, I guess it doesn't really matter. And that's it for today. So like I said, spread the word. If we're a little rough, too fucking bad. No one's getting paid here. And we'll see you tomorrow on day 15 of not wearing pants with a button. See you tomorrow.